What's going on, folks? It's Larry with Packmaster Dog Training here. First of all, let me start off by saying I'm not even sure exactly what I'm going to talk about right now, except it's going to be about dogs, dog training. That's about as far as I know right now. The reason I'm making this video is I get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls of people, from people out of my training area, that just want advice on where they're going wrong or dealing with an issue, normal dog training stuff that I'm sure trainers from all over the place get. The problem is I've always taken every phone call, returned every message, and answered every email, and spent a lot of time doing that, but I'm at a point where I can't keep up with all the calls and emails, and I can't get to everyone, and I hate that. I feel bad, but I just can't. So I just wanted to talk about dogs, and like I said, I don't even know where I'm going to start. Not really sure. Kind of having a conversation with myself, I guess. But most frequently, of course, it's the obvious. I get calls and emails, people asking questions. Well, how do I stop my dog from doing this? Or I'm having a problem doing this. I get questions about different tools. I get questions about purely positive training versus balanced training. And let me start off by saying, I guess most people would consider me a balanced trainer as opposed to a purely positive trainer. I don't think I'm either one. Labeling me as a balanced trainer, balanced training, I guess, would mean that you use an equal amount of corrections and reward. That's balance, and that's not even the close. That's not how I train dogs. I consider myself a versatile trainer. Every single dog is different, and I treat each dog however he needs to be treated, whatever works best for that dog. I'm not a purely positive trainer, but what that side believes is they believe balanced trainers, and that's the word I'll stick with because that's what people use. They think they use punishment and corrections to teach a dog stuff, and to be honest with you, I know very few balanced trainers that train like that. I use very, very little corrections in dog training. You don't have to. You just don't have to. I teach everything. When I'm teaching a dog how to do something, I teach with motivation. I teach with food. I teach with toys. That's how I teach. I don't teach anything with pressure, really. I'm sure there's some pressure in there. People are going to pick this apart and say, oh, listen, stop with all the technical bullshit. Stop with all the science. Stop with the positive and the double positive and the negative and the division sign. I don't talk about all that shit. I don't use that stuff with my clients. I don't use it for myself. It means nothing to me. I train dogs, period. I keep it really simple. Dogs are black and white. That's it. Show them what you want. Teach them what you want. Most people don't teach. Okay, when I get a dog, say I get a dog in to do a 2-week board and train, the first thing I do is I have to create that bond, that trust between me and the dog. And then it's my job to teach the dog how to learn. I'm actually teaching the dog how to learn. Most dogs come in, they've never really been taught anything, and I'm a huge proponent of e-collars. I'm a real big e-collar trainer. Everybody knows that. But yet I teach nothing with e-collars. Why is that? Well, I tell people, if you use an e-collar correctly, if you teach the dog and condition the dog correctly with an e-collar, the whole purpose of that is that hopefully you will never have to use an e-collar, period. That doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but I can't remember the last time I had to correct a dog on a high level with an e-collar. I couldn't tell you. It's been a really long time. Does it happen? Yeah, absolutely, of course, but people just talk out of their ass and really have no clue. Both sides, there's people that consider themselves purely positive trainers, and that's great. I don't have a problem with that. I respect that group. Like I said, I use a lot of purely positive training. I really do. But the problem is, most purely positive trainers I know suck as trainers. They don't even do that right. They do it completely wrong. They have no clue. Just go to these big box stores here, the PetSmarts and the Petcos, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They're purely positive, but they have no clue what they're doing. And then there's plenty of balanced trainers out there that they're balanced trainers, but you know, they think putting a prong collar on a dog or an e-collar and kicking the dog's ass when they do something wrong or don't do their ass is training. They're douchebags. They don't know what they're doing either, you know? So I guess dog training's a lot like politics. If you could fall someplace right in the middle, you probably have a decent head on your shoulders, you know? And there's great dog trainers that are purely positive trainers. There's great trainers on both sides. There really is. Unfortunately, with today's internet and YouTube, there's a lot of people that do really well in the training world, you know, financially. But let's face it, they can't train a freaking dog to save your life, you know. Then there's really fantastic old school trainers that have been around a long time and are really phenomenal at what they do. You'll never see make a video. You don't know of them because they don't have to. Or maybe they're so old they just don't know how to use the internet. I don't know. I'm just kidding to all my old school trainers out there. But it's true, you know. So in this day and age, where people go wrong is, you know, I get a phone call from someone, you know, my dog's real smart. He knows how to do all this stuff. I can't get him to stop jumping on people. Well, guess what? There's a problem there. You got to really go back. If someone brings me a dog and says he jumps on people and they come to the door, well, I don't start working on the dog jumping on the door. I start from the bottom, because I've never had to teach my dogs how not to jump on people. You know, let's say it like this. People with kids, you don't set time aside and tell your husband or your wife, hey, I'm going to go outside and train the kids. You don't do that. You don't have to do that. You're raising them. You're teaching them along the way what you want, what you don't want. It should be the same thing with dogs, but people don't do that. They get a dog. If they're smart, they send them to a trainer, goes through a program, you get the dog back, and that's it. You do nothing with the dog, and you expect everything to be great. It doesn't work that way. You got to put some time into it, you know. Let's give an example. I teach my dogs, leave it. Leave it's a very strong command with my dogs, and it's something that I teach everything right from the start. But I never put my dog on a leash and go outside and say, I'm going to teach leave it. No, it's just that when they're young and they're going to touch things I don't want them to, I'm always showing them, no, leave it. You know, I don't want you touching that. And it's done through repetitions, hundreds and hundreds of times, where it becomes so strong in the dog, you know, it's just second nature. But you know, I spend the first 2 years of my dog's life really teaching. It's constant. And I may be a little overboard. I'm a little OCD when it comes to it. But, you know, once my dog reaches 2 years old, I want a self-sufficient dog that, you know, I don't have to worry about no matter where I'm at, in public, off leash. And that's what I get. And there's no reason why everyone can't have that, you know. Different tools, different methods. You could talk about all that shit, but you know, still there is nothing better. The best training tool, in my opinion, is still a leash. You should be able to teach a dog anything you want with the use of a leash. You know, good leash work goes a really, really long way. And like I said, I'm just on a tangent here. I don't even know what else to talk about. But you got to put the time in, people. If you send your dog to me or any other trainer, I don't care how good the dog comes back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. You have to put in the work and continue to follow up. You have to do something with your animal, or you're going to have issues. You know, you're going to have issues. There was other things I wanted to touch on, but I can't think right now. You know, but I've been doing this a long time, and I still do something every day. I'm constantly learning. I don't know it all. I try to know it all. I put a lot of time into really becoming the best I can ever possibly be when it comes to handling dogs. You know, it just never stops. You know, there's a lot of people and a lot of trainers that I respect a great deal. I don't agree with when they talk about little things like, you know, the whole pack mentality and, you know, walking ahead of you and running through doorways. You know, that's such a touchy subject with people, you know. Unfortunately, because of TV trainers, people try to take on that personality, and it's just a crock of shit. It is, you know what I mean? But to some regards, Like I said, there's a lot of trainers that I respect a great deal and are really great trainers. They'll say, I don't care if the dog sleeps in my bed or runs through the door ahead of me. And I understand what they're saying, and I agree with that. That's not going to make your dog a bad dog, but you're a dog trainer. You know what I mean? The average person, when they allow the dog to do those kinds of things, they're usually failing in many other areas too, and the overall picture creates a problem as to where when you take a person with not a lot of dog training ability and you give the dog a lot of structure and you do make them wait at doorways, you don't allow them on furniture unless when called, you don't allow them sleeping in your bed. It's important because the average dog owner needs these things. If you're really great with dogs and you're a good dog trainer, no, that shit doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your relationship, you know. I don't allow my dogs on the furniture or sleep in bed, but, you know, I don't care if they run out the door ahead of me. They do when we're going outside. That doesn't bother me. But during the training period when they're puppies and for the first year or two, I am crazy about that stuff. You know, it's important. To me, it's important, you know, and there's one thing I'll say is I've always had really well-behaved dogs, and I'm sure I'm a little over the top, you know. It's just like training with food. There was a time where I looked down upon that, you know, I frowned upon it. It was, I don't train with food, that's big box store stuff, you know. But when I start working with some of the best trainers on the planet and they're using food, it's like, hey, I got to open my eyes here. Whew, best thing I ever did. Do I train with food for a long time? No, absolutely not. I don't stick training with food very long. It's very, very short. Same thing with toys. You use toys, whatever motivates the dog, but when you're doing it properly and the communication is there, very shortly, just the act of the dog doing the activity, the command, whatever you're asking to, is reward enough. You won't need food, toys. That's the whole purpose. You know what I mean? If you don't train with food, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't train with toys, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you from experience, you're missing out. You know, I use food, I use toys, I use e-collars, I use leashes, I use everything. I use everything. And every now and then you're going to get a dog that goes against absolutely everything, and you got to get pretty freaking creative. You know, when you have a dog that has no food motivation, no toy motivation, doesn't care about praise, you know, you got to, those are the dogs that make you a good trainer. You know what I mean? So I think you have so many people in this industry that they're stuck in one mindset. And the problem is, let's face it, dog trainers are arrogant friggin' people, man. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of arrogant people out there, you know, and some people deserve it. They've earned it. Others, man, there's a lot of people that don't deserve to be arrogant. They just don't. But this video is basically for the average dog owner, the everyday pet owner that call and ask me questions. Look, a lot of the feedback I get in my emails is fantastic. I'm humbled by it a great deal. You know, my videos, they're very unprofessional. To me, they're super boring. I've never watched one of my videos and said, wow, that's pretty good. No, they're freaking horrible. I couldn't watch them if I was a potential client. But the feedback I get, you know, people really, I guess, love the rawness, and I show a lot of the bad stuff, you know, and I'm honest. I film it with a freaking iPhone. I don't do any editing. There's a couple of videos that I gave to somebody to do some editing and make look fancy. And you know what? People don't like that. They want the real shit. They just want to see what goes on, and you know, I make a lot of mistakes. You know, I look back at a dog, say a dog I trained 15 years ago. I look back at it now and I go, holy shit, what was I thinking? I'd never do that today. You know what I mean? So dog training is constantly evolving. But for the average dog owner, the everyday person, that's who this is for. Find yourself the best trainer you possibly can. Money should not be an object here. You have to find the best trainer you can. And then it's up to you. You have to follow through and learn something. You have to commit a little bit to your animal. If you think you're going to get a dog back and just sit back and everything's going to be good, you're crazy. You're very lucky if that works. It just doesn't work that way, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'll stop this video here in a minute, and then I'm going to say, shit, someone asked me this, or, you know, I wanted to talk about that. You know what I mean? But listen, the most important thing, when I look at my dogs, I work on the basics and I perfect them. But most importantly, I want to perfect my dog's ability to learn from me and my ability to learn from them. the communication has to be there, you know. So if my dog does something wrong, you know, if he's having a hard time figuring something, I have to really try to get through to his head. I'm not going to punish him and correct him for not knowing something. How could I make this dog understand exactly what I want? That's the way you have to think. And the dog really understands more than you will ever believe. Believe me when I tell you. Learn how to get through to him in a good way, in a communication kind of way. Whether, you know, and I'm not talking about rewards. You know, learn your animal. Teach your dog to learn. And stop making excuses. Get out and freaking do something. All right? Sorry it's so long and boring, but listen, I'm not getting to go to the IACP conference this week. I'm not getting to go to the Bart Ballone seminar this weekend. So screw all of you. I'm doing my own freaking seminar here. I'm having my own conversation because I'm jealous to everyone that's getting to participate in that stuff, okay? And I hope everyone has a really good time and learns a lot, but take something away from it, okay? Get with these people who know what they're talking about and do some learning. All right, that's all I got to say. Have a good day. Peace.